Hey everyone, today I'll be running through what I call my EEAT checklist for 2023, or double E as some people like to call it. Now, as the SEO landscape continues to evolve, Google are putting in new practice and new systems in place to make sure that the content that's being delivered on their search engine is high quality. That's why they introduced the simple principle of expertise, authoritativeness, and trust. But recently they've added in the word experience, and now it's EEAT. It's quite new. It only got released a couple of months ago. But what's interesting about going through some of the documentation and some of the language that even other SEOs are using and some of the things that they've tested out, I've come up with my own checklist around content for 2023 that I think would be really useful for people to know. And I've taken what I can glean from SEO professionals in this space, but also from my experience as a search quality assessor in a previous life. So let's just dive into it. So this concept of experience, what Google is essentially looking for is those main principles, but also a layer of experience. And this is quite interesting. If you go through Google's radar quality guidelines, and they actually released this publicly as well, there's some great articles about it. What Google is essentially saying as part of this documentation, that when people add in a layer of experience to the content they create, it adds more value to the user, which is pretty logical, right? Me as an SEO specialist, I'd be a lot more qualified to talk about SEO than, let's say, talking about plumbing. If I wrote an article about plumbing and Google's algorithm picked that up, they'd attach my entity name, but also that content, and just go, Lawrence Hitches is not a plumber. Why would this be a valuable piece of content to users? So they can look at the heading structure and have all the right title tags, meta descriptions, and all the on-page signals, but if it doesn't have that layer of experience behind it, you could potentially run into some roadblocks when you're actually trying to produce content that's really valuable for users, but don't have that layer of experience behind that. So in terms of a checklist, these are the things that I believe will be really useful to put into your content to make sure it ranks really well for the long term as Google introduces these new systems. So to kick it off, experience, adding a layer of experience. How will that work? Well, I think it would come down to being able to provide a case study. So let's say I'm writing a blog article about SEO in terms of a migration. It would be great to add in something like a case study that we performed as part of our work as an SEO agency to add a layer of experience. So if someone came across an article that said how to do a successful SEO migration, and we actually showcase an example of something that we did, that would qualify that to a user to go, oh, this is a really legit article that I need to read because someone's done this before and showing the results of what they've done. Or just providing links to relevant resources that you've written before. As an author or a content creator, that adds that layer of trust too. Bring in experts from the field as well. So what I've noticed about some great pieces of content, they'll provide not only the first-hand experience from the person writing it, they'll introduce other people in the field to provide a really brief expert commentary about the topic that you're writing about. That also adds another layer of trust and experience to the content that you're creating. Videos and images. Now, I think this is a part of where it's going to get interesting when Google's quality raters go through websites and go, well, I've got a great article about how to do a migration. Well, this is a really high quality piece of content that's got all the on-page SEO stuff ticked off. But this particular article about a migration has a video of someone explaining what a migration is and also an example of how they performed one in the past. To me, that would really indicate another factor of experience and also show that you're a real person. If you're the person writing the article, but also providing a video about that topic on top of that, I think if anyone was to jump into that website, they would go, well, this nails EEAT for sure. So next up is an about page. On businesses that have been in operation for multiple years, they'll have an about page, but they'll be quite brief about their business and how long they've been in operation and how successful they've been in the past. What really great websites do now is they add that organizational schema or person schema if you're a one-person business to qualify and also indicate to Google who you are and what entity you're attached to as well. Let's say, for instance, Harry Sanders. He's got his own knowledge panel because he's built out person schema on his website to make sure that he's adhering to those guidelines and also indicating to Google that he's a natural person. So it adds that layer of qualification when they're going through and trying to attach Harry's name to something like SEO, a topic like SEO. If your business has many team members, it would be great to build out an about page with each one of those team members and also add biographies to each one of those team members too. So as a user, you're going through a website, you find a high quality piece of content, but also you go to their about page and you can see that they've got a big team with a lot of expertise and there's specific people with a real person behind it with specific information about what they're good at and what their expertise levels are at. I think that would also showcase to Google, hey, this is a website worth trusting. You should rank me high in the search results. Next up is contact information. Now, this is a bit of a tricky one, but also you got to think about what's going to provide Google more information about your business and show you that you're really, really legit. Now, in terms of privacy in this day and age, people are very protective about the information they might release, including like their phone number or their address. But you got to think about it from Google's perspective. If you have all that consistent information on your website, that if someone's reading an article and something goes wrong, they can actually call you up, or I imagine this might not happen, but actually visit your address and go, hey, I'm looking for some help on something. I've found your address, or I'm inquiring your business professionally because I need this specific help. If you don't have the information online, users are going to go, wait, this is a little bit, how am I supposed to contact anyone if I want some more information, or to know that I can reach out to someone that can help me if I run into a roadblock? And to me, holistically, that provides that layer of confidence that you've produced this piece of content, but also you're confident enough to put your address and your phone number as a business or as a website behind it so that people can reach out to you. So when you're showing up to Google, you really got to showcase that you're worth ranking for through those metrics. Real authorship. So what is happening at the moment around EAT is author bios and having really great author pages is the stock standard approach to approaching EAT. When manual assessors might go through your website and look at who's writing the article, they want to look at what credentials they have behind that. And someone like Healthline has done a really great job in terms of being able to address this in a very specific way by adding medically reviewed as part of their articles that are created by the authors. She's got the qualifications behind it. She's updated the article and it's been medically reviewed by a professional as well. To me, that looks like a real authorship, that someone's really, really backing their content. And looking through this website, if Google's assessing those types of qualities, they're going to be like, this is a really, really valuable piece of content and checks all the boxes from an EEAT perspective. Topical Authority. Now, what's happened over the past few years is when we're looking at content strategy for a business, to look at through a real SEO lens, there's this concept of topical authority. If you're selling something like coffee, you have to make sure that Google knows that you're a coffee business and you're very serious about it. And one way to do that is to make sure that you're covering off all the key topics about coffee if you're trying to rank for that target keyword. Using coffee as an example, it would be a quite difficult one to rank number one for, but the first article that you need to create behind trying to rank for that keyword is, what is coffee? And I'm using coffee as an example. It would be quite a difficult one to rank for, but you really can't rank number one for coffee as a key term if you don't have an article like, what is coffee? That would be a pillar piece of content. It would have to be so strong and have so much authority behind it and trust and expertise and experience that you need to cover that topic, but also all the subtopics underneath that. So when you're building out your content strategy, you have to make sure that you're building out your topical authority map as well to make sure you're addressing all those keywords and all those particular topics that Google will look into to know that you're really worth ranking for that high quality keyword. An example of actually how to build out a quick topical authority map would be to go on SEMrush's keyword magic tool and just hitting questions. You've got your target keyword, you've got the questions that people are going to likely ask when they're doing searches around coffee. And let me tell you, how much caffeine is in coffee is going to be a great topic to write about if you're trying to rank for that target keyword. And the last thing is just coming back to core principles. Be crawlable on your website. Make sure that in Google Search Console, you have as low issues as possible. You're addressing your 404 errors. You have a sitemap. A lot of people are talking about nowadays HTML sitemaps working quite well on websites. Security issues are resolved. Anything critical on the website is resolved. Google will look into that and go, well, if a trustworthy website's going to have technical issues, not really going to be that favored towards it, even if they're nailing all the other metrics. So it's just a really good way of safeguarding your website from being put under the lens of not being as valuable to users, even if you produce really high quality content. So guess what, team? It's time to eat, or double eat. That's my checklist for 2023 around EEAT. I hope that provides some valuable insights. And look, at the end of the day, if you're checking off all these things that I've talked about, your quality will have probably the best chance to rank in 2023. And that's it.